By my clock, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm going to ask if we stand for an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. May we bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we say thank you for the night of rest and for this beautiful day in Washington County today. Lord, direct us, guide us, use us for thy service. May we be ever mindful of the needs of others and for our responsibilities as community leaders, serving others. Lord, lead, guide, and direct us. May we honor and please you in all that we do and say. For it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Officially call our April 23rd meeting to order. And first thing up on the agenda is approval of the minutes of April the 16th. Any comments, questions, corrections, concerns?
Motion to approve April 16th minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. 5-0. Commissioners' reports and comments. Mr. Wagner, you want to go first?
Sure. Morning, welcome everybody. I'll start off by, I didn't make the event, thanking the staff, Alex and our county staff, and anybody participated in Earth Day yesterday at Dobbs Woods. It's also able to attend Daughters of American Revolution at Kiwanis Park, where they unveiled a marker to honor Revolutionary War heroes and patriots. If you haven't been to Kiwanis Parks, it's very nice. The historic Sailor House is there, and this new plaque they commemorated and unveiled is there too. Open Airplane Day was at the Hagerstown Aviation Museum. If you haven't been out to the Aviation Museum, a lot to see. A lot of vintage airplanes, a lot of Fairchild airplanes. You can actually get in and walk through them and look them over, and just a lot of memorabilia from the days of Fairchild and the aviation industry. So they're doing wonders out there with renovated hangars. So it might be, I think they're open every Saturday and Sunday. Check their website or Facebook. It's worth going out. It's like $5 to get in, maybe, something like that. It's worth going out to take a peek. Thank all the county staff, our first responders for the SARCS drill they had this past week. I know it was, I didn't make that one either, but I know it was, from what I've heard, I saw the videos though, Oli, so I got to see the videos. It was very nice. And Michelle and a couple of the staff went, so that it was, they said it was a great experience, and thank you all for that. Washington County, our business development had and teaming with the HCC, had a career expo out at HCC. I did attend that. I tell you, if you want to talk to our local business leaders and vendors in Washington County, the next one that comes up, if you're looking for a career or a job, I mean, everybody and anybody was there. The ARC was full of recruiters and just information if you needed information on possibly a career or a job. I thank Jonathan Horowitz and crew for helping set that up. It was very well run. Meeting tonight in Smithburg at 6 o'clock, our evening meeting at Smithburg. And I'm sure that'll be broadcast live, at least on Facebook for tonight. And if you haven't checked out the Sheriff's app, the new Sheriff's app, you might want to download that. It's free onto your phone. Gives you a lot of updates, what's happening in the community. I just got an update on special weather statement on the Sheriff's app saying gusty winds are coming and it's fire hazards. And I think we had a fire up at Woodmont, field fire yesterday. So you got to be careful with your open burning. And so that's pretty handy. I mean, it's a bundle of information, the Sheriff's app. So you might want to go to the App Store and check that one out. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Kiefer, you go next.
Excuse me. Sure. One short note here. I think it's quite exciting that we have a local Hagerstown resident, Aaron Brooks, that will be headed to the Olympics this summer. Just congratulations to to Aaron. I don't know Aaron, and I don't necessarily follow wrestling, but I think anytime someone local achieves status like that, I think we need to recognize it and have his name reflected in our minutes at the very least. And hopefully we'll be talking about him again soon, into the summer.
Thank you.
That's all.
Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, President Barr. Yeah, I echo Randy's comments about all the great activities that our county's been sponsoring and working in, everything from Earth Day tree planting. And I did my share of tree planting over the weekend with some new trees that I planted on our property, and I wish I could have been there, but otherwise engaged. Did you note the Career Expo, successful Career Expo the other day?
Yeah, it was, I had to park way up on the hill, so that made me disappointed. I had to walk that far, but other than that, it was pretty nice, yeah.
Very good effort. And also, I attended the Washington County Fire Association meeting this week along with Jeff. It's always great to be there and see what the business is and how they're doing and working our issues as volunteers. And we depend greatly upon our volunteers, and you know, we do a lot with them as far as trying to support them, and they do so much more for our county in providing public safety. So a big shout out to them. And then John Bauer and I went to, in Wayne, we went to the Commission on Aging Gala on Saturday night. It was very successful, well done, and I hope they raised a lot of funds. It was at St. James, and it's a beautiful facility there. Coming up, I'm just going to mention, since I have a 1950s Korean War U.S. Army weapons carrier, there's the 50th Annual East Coast Military Vehicle Rally coming up at the Hagerstown Aviation Museum, 2 to 4 May. It's not too early to put it on your calendar. I plan on being there with my vehicle.
Is that 2 days? That event?
It's 2.5
Friday and
days.
Saturday?
2 to 4.
On both those days?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Klein?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I also attended the Earth Day over at Dallas Woods with the tree planting. Just to let you know how old I am, I think I participated in the first Earth Day back in May of 1968. I was a 7th grader at Williamsport Junior High School, which was the old school above the park, which most of you in this room don't remember. But when I was in class and walked the roads and gathered trash, so it was kind of nice to be back then at Earth Day as a commissioner, seeing how this event is still going strong. So thank you to Alex and all the associated agencies that participated in that, and for staff to be there. I also attended the search and rescue exercise SARS. It was interesting to see all the types of agencies collaborating together from all the different counties, to our mobile command unit being there, drones in the air, helicopters being in the air, and what it takes to organize and keep that. The amount of staff there with technology, setting up an emergency operating center, from Greg being there and inspecting bridges and stuff afterwards, the flood, and our highway people being there. George Palmer, they're setting up emergency tents and stuff. So it was a combined effort of multi-agencies and multiple departments, and the taxpayers need to know that that training is there to serve them. So if they're wondering where a lot of their dollars are going, it's there in preparation, and hopefully an event like that would never occur. But thanks to all. I also attended a ceremony at Halfway for the Halfway African-American Cemetery. It's a cemetery on Elizabeth Paul's property that she's now donated an easement, and going there and doing some excavating and archaeology and getting those people who were buried there the honor and dignity that they deserve. I also attended 2 DAR events. One was at Kiwanis Park, and they placed the 250th marker for the Revolutionary War, honoring those heroes of that Revolutionary War. And then also attended a DAR event in the square of Sharpsburg, where they also put up a sign, a 250th marker. And I found out that one of the ladies there in the Conococheague chapter is my cousin, and she told me we had relatives in the Revolutionary War. So wow, there's where it started for my family. So anyway, but also attended the Keedysville Spring Fest. Our resident deputy Dakota was there amongst some of our Alec Reed with Stormwater Management team. It was a nice day for a festival in Keedysville. I did attend the Fire Association meeting this past week, and also I attended the Tri-County Council membership meeting up in Allegheny County, and we're getting ready to look at today some funding sources and revenues that will be distributed. So that was a worthwhile event and a great committee to be on. Commissioner Barr, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Klein. Good morning, everyone. Yes, the past week has been extremely busy, and first and foremost, I'd like to personally thank Ole Griffith, who met many of us down in South County and took us not only to the SARS drill, but we looked at how to declare a state of emergency in our community and what the protocol is for that. And it was a very worthwhile and learning experience, I think, for all of us as protocol in the event there is an emergency of that kind or of that magnitude in our community. So it was good to participate. It was good to practice and be well prepared should there ever be calls for a state of emergency. And after the state of emergency is called, the protocol of who's in charge and how everyone reacts and works together was rather phenomenal. So, and Ole gave us a personal historical tour of South County that day, and we thank you very much. So,
Thank you.
I don't want to be redundant. Many of the things that have already been spoken here this morning, I did participate in. Another personal hats off, I'd like to also mention Elizabeth Paul. It really has taken a lot from her to step up, donate part of her personal property, and dedicate it to the African American Cemetery in Halfway. The unique thing about that long lost treasure is in the beginning it was 6 acres. And many of the houses in that Halfway area are literally built on the African-American sacred ground, if you will. I think the section that's been preserved in behind all the houses that Elizabeth has given access to is only about a ½ acre at this point. Over the past 100 years, it has been neglected, it's been dumped on, and there's been a tremendous amount of volunteerism in our community to reach out, protect it, restore it, and I think there's a work day, Jeff, you remember there's a work day here sometime in May on a Saturday for anyone that would help volunteer to clean up and remove debris and try to restore that property. They did get a grant. It's now sectionalized off with some very nice wrought iron black fencing. It looks very nice. It's got a macadam entrance off of the street, and hats off again to Elizabeth Paul for spearheading, not only spearheading, but giving of her personal self and part of her property for that. The other thing I'd like to mention, I had an opportunity to participate in Teacher of the Year. I always look forward to that. One night last week, and there was 6 finalists, and Brittany Collins from Springfield Middle School was chosen as the Teacher of the Year, which means Brittany will also be a candidate in the statewide Teacher of the Year award here in the next couple weeks or months at Martin's West in Baltimore. So I look forward to probably attending that. I usually do, and it's a very fine affair. Normally the governor's there, and so we look forward to that, and we wish Brittany success in not only her current year as Washington County Teacher of the Year, but also as a candidate in the statewide. So very interesting. If anyone's interested, I have the complete Teacher of the Year brochure. It gives all the credentials of each of the 6 finalists, and obviously it was a very tough decision to pick up a winner for Washington County. So 6 wonderful teachers in our community. Looking ahead, upcoming events, of course, tonight is, it's already been mentioned, is our town hall meeting in Smithsburg. So that That is at 6 p.m. Also, grand opening of the new location of the Community Foundation of Washington County is tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. out on, I guess that's Ladersburg Pike. Maryland Commission on Civil Rights listening session is also tomorrow at 5:30, Hagerstown Community College. Central Maryland AFL-CIO Workers Memorial Service is this Friday out at their headquarters on Morgansville Road. Also this weekend, there is an Eagle Scout ceremony for Aubrey Rail. Saturday, April the 27th at 1 p.m., Church of Christ of Hagerstown. There's also a post-legislative forum at HCC Career Programs Building next Wednesday, May 1st at 7 a.m. And finally, also next week, May 4th, there's an Eagle Scout ceremony for Faith DeMuth, who was just here a week or so ago with Youth Meritorious Awards. She's a winner of that award at her school, and she is also a Eagle Scout. So again, quite a young lady. And that is May 4th at 5 p.m. at Shady Grove Community Center. So with that, have we missed anything, gentlemen? We'll move right into staff comments, and first up is Dave Hayes. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eric Jacobs, Operations Manager, Emergency Services. April 10th through the 12th, several members of the division met at Pierce Manufacturing in Wisconsin. The reserve engine fleet that was originally approved in April of 2022. We have a shortfall in the changes that were made those 3 days, over a combination of 3 days. When we met, because of being a reserve engine fleet, we wanted to ensure that it was user-friendly for those volunteer companies that would be using the apparatus, as well as being functional. The 3 components we focused on was safety, security, and efficiency. So that added to the original price. With that, this is not an uncommon practice to do these change orders. Year to year, fire apparatus design changes, and we opted to take the 2022 unit and add 2024 features. Again, each one of those was based around the 3 key components of safety, security, and efficiency. So that being said, looking for direction and approval to move forward with that purchase. We ended up with a shortfall of a total of $50,184. However, the original approval was for $2.25 million, thus leaving us a balance of approximately $30,000 in changes. The breakdown to each unit was $16,728.
Eric, you sort of lost me. So you're basically asking for the ability to make those changes, and but do you have the money, or do you need another 50,000?
No, so we're going to absorb the cost in the change order from our capital budget. Director Hayes is with me to answer any questions in reference to the shortfall in the capital budget. However, that amount it's a closed PO, so for transparency purposes, we wanted to come before the commissioners.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
To address that there were changes made.
You could have let off of that and been good. Yes.
I'm sorry. Just for clarification, in case anything were to come in reference to the changes.
So will you need a budget revision to transfer money from a different project to this one, or?
No, so originally, we were approved for $2.25 million for the apparatus purchase. That money was deposited in our current CIP. We have an additional $30,000 of that 2.25 that we did not expend with the original purchase. The total cost of this purchase is just over $50,000. What we need is an additional, we need permission to take the additional 20 from our CIP. I believe we can absorb that 20 right out of our CIP, so we don't need additional funding. We just need approval to actually execute the change order and then the increase in cost. So the increased total cost of the original project is just over $50,000.
Motion to approve the change order.
Yep, second.
Motion is second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
And I just want to add one last thing. The bulk of the changes were safety-oriented, so we added netting over some of the hose bed covers. We put a door on the rear of the truck where there was going to be a tarp, so it's not stuff that were wants, they were needs.
When will you guys be able to take delivery on it?
So anticipated October, likely November, just because of the process itself. This information obviously will go back to the vendor today that the approvals were.
It'd be fair to say that if somebody needs apparatus, it's going to take 2 years to get it if they order it,
More than.
more than.
Unless you're buying a stock unit somewhere, and they're hard to find. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next up, Chip Rose.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chip Rose, Director of Human Resources. I'm also here to speak on behalf of the DES Department. The staff is seeking approval to create a DES job family between the EMT and the paramedic single-role positions. DES would like permission to transition the EMTs, which are single-role jobs, to qualify for paramedic licenses, also a single-role job, and through a non-competitive job family process. So essentially, once an EMT becomes qualified to become a paramedic, we would simply transfer them over to become a paramedic without posting the job. If approved, DES would like to convert paramedic position numbers 1828, 1829, and 1830 to EMT single-role position.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Comments? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Following up then, staff seeks approval to move a current employee, Andrew Wood, firefighter FAO, to DES Grade 2, Step 5, which is $49,945 annually, effective April 27th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, staff is seeking approval to hire 2 positions for Jessica Doyle and Elena Lyons to the emergency medical technician single role position, which is a Grade 2, Step 1, at a salary of $45,252, and the offer will be extended if you approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion and second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Chip. Dawn, you're up.
Good morning, Commissioners. On behalf of the Washington County Mental Health Authority, I am requesting a motion to appoint Delancey Catlett to serve a first full 3-year term from May 1st of 2024 through April 30th of 2027 as the clergy representative. This is not a paid board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And also on behalf of the Washington County Mental Health Authority, I'm requesting a motion to appoint Ronald Maggiore to serve a first full 3-year term from May 1st, 2024 through April 30th of 2027 as the elder advocate.
We have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Gordon, Administrator.
Good morning. I attended the Washington County Career Expo at HCC, and I'd like to thank our Business and Economic Development staff for assisting with the event, and I'd like to thank Tony Parks from our Human Resources Department for manning the county's booth. I also attended the multi-agency search and rescue exercise on April the 18th. It was a great learning resource for our public safety personnel as well as for myself. The SARX drill ensured that our community is well prepared for emergencies, and I was really impressed with the work of all of our first responders who participated. I attended one of the county's 2024 Earth Day events with numerous volunteers and some of our county personnel. We planted 78 trees at Dabbswood Park in Hagerstown to ensure that as older growth trees die off, the new growth is there for future generations of county residents. Other events included trash and debris cleanup in streams and other watersheds. I'd like to say thank you to Alex Reed, who is our watershed specialist for coordinating some of these events. On Friday, I attended the first of 3 informational meetings developed by our Permits and Inspections Department to assist builders, residents, and businesses with the transition to the new 2021 building codes and performance standards. I'd like to thank our staff for coordinating those events. Staff is meeting with rating agencies next week to review the economic and financial outlook for Washington County and to renew the county's budget, our bond ratings for the 2024 issuance. Standard & Poor's rating at this time is AA+, Moody's is AA1, and Fitch is also AA+. There is no meeting next week, and the next meeting is May the 7th, and our public hearing is scheduled for May the 15th at 6 p.m. at the Public Safety Training Center, and that's for the fiscal year 25 budget. And that's everything that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff comments I may have overlooked this morning? Okay, hearing none. Next up is citizens' participation. Do you have anyone here that would like to come forward this morning? Polly? You want to just,
Yeah, we gave him a microphone.
oh, yeah,
I have a mic here.
okay, good.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, commissioners. On behalf of the Commission on Aging, we'd like to thank the commissioners that participated on our senior gala program that we held this past Saturday at St. James, as it was already mentioned. Thank you, President Barr, Commissioners Harvey, and Commissioner Kiefer. I appreciate your attendance and your support of the seniors here in Washington County. This was our major fundraising program this year for the seniors here in Washington County. We're still a long ways away from achieving a lot more of our goals, as you heard at the meeting. Our host announcer was Lou Scally, and he did a wonderful job of presenting all the information that was necessary for our event that evening. And Mr. Day was our guest speaker here in Washington County. And we thank them and the staff at St. James School for the wonderful event, dinner, and layout. It was just breathtaking when you walk in to see it. Thank you all very much. And gentlemen and people here in the audience and the residents out at in the television land there, we still are taking contributions for our senior program here. So thank you all very much. I appreciate everything that the county has done, and for the seniors here, we're still working at it. We're going to make it work.
Thanks, Polly. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Mrs. Bean, and I am a substitute teacher at Washington County School Board, and I'm also a parent volunteer of Western Heights Middle School. Today, I'm here to speak on behalf of I got the shirt on, the Graffiti Goons. It's 6 students representing Western Heights Middle School who have made it to the global finals in Kansas City, Missouri. We have started a GoFundMe page to try to get the students there. I just wanted to tell you that the Destination Imagination is an educational academic program that promotes creative and critical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork through competitive STEM-based challenges. The Graffiti Goons from Western Heights Middle School participate in the Fine Arts Challenge and place first at the state level of the competition, qualifying them for global finals. The Fine Arts Challenge required them to take their chosen painting, American Gothic by Graham Wood, and turn it into a piece of performance arts, and then to create a piece of kinetic art based on the painting as well. Throughout this process, the students learn engineering skills, practice public speaking skills, operated within a budget, and built their independence. This year, Global Finals was in Kansas City, Missouri, and we need financial assistance to cover airfare, hotel stays, food, and registration costs. 2 of our students were on last year's team, which qualified for globals, but were unable to attend for financial reasons. Thank you for your consideration. So far, we probably, I guess, around maybe $3,000 more short, but we still trying to raise money. We have done fundraisers, like last night I done a fundraiser at Roy Rogers. We done one at Red Robin. So, like I said, we still have the GoFundMe page going, but I'm just coming here to see if there's any other grants. So we applied for the $2,000 grant for the commissioner's office here, but the other grant, you all doesn't, well, it doesn't, you can't get the money until like July, but these students go May 21st through May 26th. So I'm here just to check and see if there's any other grants or fundings that could possibly help the 6 students that's trying to make it to the global finals.
If I could get your information, I'll refer this to our grants management department to see if they have anything else available for you.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and you all have a nice day.
Thanks, Mrs. Bean.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carol Mowen, President of the Washington County Teachers Association, and our office is located at 18047 Oak Ridge Drive in Hagerstown. When I provided public comments to you in March, I shared with you my hope that the county's draft budget would indicate a change in allocation for the Board of Education. I'm before you again today to reiterate that hope, because I'm once again disappointed in the choice to not provide adequate funding to meet the needs of Washington County schools. I am particularly dismayed that county government leadership has chosen to provide millions more to the budget in other areas without allocating additional revenue to the Board of Ed. While I understand that more is needed to support the County Detention Center, emergency operations, and other county agencies, more is also needed to adequately fund this county's schools. Please consider the following. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future is the result of the Kirwan Commission, as you know, that was created in 2016 as a bipartisan effort by Governor Hogan and the General Assembly. It assessed Maryland's pre-K-12 system and the adequacy of its funding formulas to make recommendations that would ensure Maryland children achieve at the levels of students in the world's best performing school systems. Those commissioners began their work expecting that they would find that Maryland already had an outstanding education system, but they discovered that the data did not support that conclusion. The report's findings motivated the state's leaders to create the blueprint to transform public education so that every child in every school, whatever their socioeconomic level, race, gender, language, zip code, or religion, would have the support they need to become productive citizens and workers. The law requires additional investment on the state's part, which the state is providing. This new funding is being phased in over 10 years, with this coming year, FY 2025, having the smallest percentage of state increases overall. The blueprint also requires additional investment locally, with the expectations that county officials prioritize pre-K-12 education funding. In 2026, the state's formula for maintenance of effort from counties increases significantly, so the county would be better positioned for 2026 by providing an additional increase to the board's allocation in 2025. With the small 1% increase in funding in the county's current allocation to the Board of Education, this budget does not provide enough funding to address the increases in expenses based on inflation alone. As you are aware from Dr. Sovine's budget presentation, inflation is impacting us too. And so a 3% increase to your allocation to the Board of Education would be the least the Board of Education needs to simply maintain services to Washington County students. And yet today's updated version of the county's budget proposes an 11.77% increase that adds an additional $2 million to county operations. Economists have noted that we are not in the predicted recession that some thought would happen this year. Given that fact, as well as historic underprojections of county revenues in recent years, this Board of Commissioners can make the choice to do more for this county's students, teachers, and schools. How you decide to do that is your decision. You have access to resources if you choose to look at past practices, future projections, and choices that have been made by past commissioners. Thank you for providing the support you have given to Washington County Public Schools. Once again, I implore you to find it in your hearts to step up your commitment and meet this moment with a new era of support for Washington County's students and schools. And thank you for allowing me a little additional time.
Thank you, Carol. Other citizens' participation? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move right into our first public hearing this morning, Historic Properties Tax Credit Ordinance Amendments. And let me get to my agenda here. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the proposed amendments. The procedure is as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Public comment and testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. At this time, I'll ask Jill Baker, the Planning and Zoning Director, will now introduce the matter.
Thank you, Commissioner Barr. As stated, Jill Baker, Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning. We are here before you today to go over the tax credit ordinance for historic structures in Washington County. As you're probably aware, the interest in historic resources have been increasing over the last several years. In an effort to support those interests, we are bringing forth some initiatives to try to support historic preservation in Washington County. I have with me today Megan Jenkins, who is our GIS coordinator, but is doubling as our historic preservation planner in our department. So I'm going to turn it over to Megan to go over the specifics of it for you.
Good morning, Commissioners. In May of 1990, the existing ordinance was adopted. The purpose was to encourage preservation and protection of historic structures by granting a county property tax credit on improvements made to structures in the HP or Historic Preservation District and the AO or Antietam Overlay District as defined in the Washington County Zoning Ordinance. Since 1990, there have been several updates to both state and local law and associated ordinances which provide opportunities to expand this program and increase its participation and viability. The overall purpose of the ordinance is proposed to remain unchanged. The existing local ordinance allows for 10% of qualified expenses for preservation, restoration, or rehabilitation using Secretary of Interior standards for historic properties to be applied as a county property tax credit. A known hindrance to the use of the program includes the little amount of credit in comparison to the often high cost of these projects. The state law now allows up to 25% credit, and this update proposes to align with that maximum allowed. There is a 5% credit for construction of architecturally compatible additions, and that is still the maximum allowed by state law and remains unchanged in this proposed ordinance. The ordinance also proposes that taxation of these significant improvements be maintained for a period of up to 10 years at taxation levels not greater than those in place before the improvements were made. It should also be noted that the HDC, or the Historic District Commission, has adopted design guidelines for historic properties which help to clarify how those Secretary of Interior standards are applied locally during review of such applications as these tax credits. The existing local ordinance allows property tax credits in the Historic Preservation District, which is a voluntary zoning overlay applied for by a property owner. This is completed through a rezoning process, which is done at minimal expense to the property owner and includes Historic District Commission and Planning Commission recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for eventual approval. We have a total of 45 unique HP overlays in the county, which include many of the county's stone arch bridges, as well as private property. Inclusion in this overlay means that the HDC has exterior design review for permitted activities. This overlay offers benefits beyond tax credits to owners by allowing flexibility locally in floodplain and building code ordinances and recognition for state programs and ordinances as locally designated historic resources. Again, these areas and any future HP zoning overlays would continue to qualify for this credit as proposed in these updates. The HDC, or Historic District Commission, hopes that the increase in credit may also encourage additional participation in this overlay. The Antietam overlay is currently listed as a qualifying area in the ordinance. This overlay has 3 sub-areas defined in the zoning ordinance. The update proposes to specifically delineate 2 sub-areas related to the battlefield buffer, or AO1, and approach zones, the AO2, as those qualifying, since these are areas where the HDC again has that exterior design review. The AO3 is associated with the retention of forest cover on Red Hill, which is the mountain visible to the east of Antietam National Battlefield. That overlay is not subject to HDC review and has caused some confusion in the past as it doesn't meet the intent of this ordinance. The update will clarify that the AO1 and 2 are those qualifying areas for the purposes of the credit. Rural villages were first introduced by 1997 state legislation. Locally, they were implemented through our comprehensive plan in 2002 and updates to our zoning ordinance in 2005. These updates propose to add rural villages which have had historic resource surveys as qualifying areas for the tax credit. The HDC now has design review authority in areas similar to that of the HP overlay and the Antietam overlay, so this was a logical expansion to the qualifying areas of this ordinance. There are currently several rural villages which have had those surveys completed. They include Antietam, Cavetown, Fairplay, Highfield, Leitersburg, Penmar, Ringgold, Roarsville, Sandy Hook, and Tillmanton. There are several other rural villages in our county in various stages of survey and adoption which have potential to then qualify for this ordinance in the future once separate adoption actions have been taken by the Board of County Commissioners. The HDC has seen an increased interest by municipalities to participate in this. In reviewing the ordinance, municipalities are not explicitly included. Rather, it has been policy to have those municipalities with a similar process to our HDC participate. Really, this only includes the city of Hagerstown at this time. This policy is based on the Board of County Commissioner minutes from the original adoption of the ordinance. So the updates seek to explicitly include municipalities and provide a means for all of them to participate either through their own ordinances and review or by delegating that to the Historic District Commission through a memorandum of understanding. A final area of qualification includes those properties with the Maryland Historical Trust easement for the duration of the credit. These properties are typically participating in state programs or tax credits and have agreed to exterior design review provisions through the Maryland Historical Trust. The ordinance updates also list the qualified rehabilitation expenses. The listing in the ordinance is in line with that used by the Maryland Historical Trust in their review of state historic preservation tax credits and will hopefully clarify for owners what the HDC and county would look for in a credit application rather than referencing IRS code and the zoning ordinance. The ordinance update also proposes that life safety and ADA-required improvements become eligible. The ordinance explicitly states application criteria for the credit. It proposes to allow the HDC to accept applications of other local, state, and federal government tax credit programs if they are equivalent to the information that is listed in the ordinance and the forms prescribed by the HDC. This means that rather than filling out multiple applications with the same information, the county will accept a copy of documentation a customer has already completed. This would hopefully relieve some of the burden on property owners in filing these multi-part applications across multiple jurisdictions, thereby maximizing their time and effort and encouraging participation in multiple programs to leverage as many credits as possible. There is now a section for the termination of the credit, which is in line with other existing tax credit ordinances in the county. This provides a mechanism for the county to have funds refunded should the property have alterations or be removed from qualifying areas. Since its inception in 1990, tax credits in the amount of $103,000 have been processed since 1990. While these updates do intend to increase the percentage of the credit from the existing 10% to 25% and the areas or properties that would qualify, the impact is not anticipated to be more than that of the existing sum of the program that is awarded to date. Staff will be happy to report back to the board with usage statistics in the future and adjust any provisions as needed. These updates consider customer feedback received by the HDC and provide a more robust credit for citizens to use. The HDC has already begun to draft additional incentive options for the BOCC to consider in the future, and this ordinance update is hopefully part of a package meant to ensure historic resources and the estimated $450 million per year heritage tourism industry that they contribute to continue to thrive in the county. These updates were reviewed previously by Budget and Finance, County Attorney, the Treasurer's Office, and the Treasurer's Office. Those who previously reached out to our department regarding incentives or those with a specific interest to historic preservation, such as the Historic Advisory Committee, were notified directly of these proposed ordinance updates, and this has been duly posted in the newspaper prior to this hearing as well. Thank you.
Okay. We will now open the public hearing for public comment. Anyone wishing to comment? Yes, sir. Good morning, John. Good.
Good morning, Commissioners. You all are used to seeing me out at Hagerstown Community College, and we missed you this year, and hopefully you'll come back next March. And there's some, not only do we like seeing you, but when special guests are there, we get served crab cakes, and when you're not there, we get sandwiches and salad. So we want to see you, but the crab cakes are nice too. I live at 1004 The Terrace, and it's a house. I'm the fifth owner. My wife and I are the fifth owners of the house. We've owned it since 2000, so almost 24 years. It was built in 1915. It was built by the president of Antietam Paper Company, which that was telecommunications at the time. After we bought it, we realized we had bought the birdhouse. It's on the corner of the Terrace and Hillcrest. The owner before us was Dr. Edward Bird. Some of you may have known him. He was a well-known neurosurgeon in town, well-liked, perfect gentleman. He was the fourth owner, and after I bought it from him and kind of became friends, and he told me how much money he had in the house and far more than he was ever going to get out of it. I didn't fully appreciate that because when I bought, the house was, 85 years old at the time. The oldest house I'd ever lived in was 11 years old. Anyway, I had approved the state tax credit, 25% tax credit, and the state has very rigorous requirements that go through the Department of Interior, take all sorts of pre-pictures, take all sorts of after pictures, and it's kind of a pain to do it, but I understand why they do it, and it's worthwhile. I had to take pictures during the process because there was a lot of damage that was discovered in the trim and stuff that only when the contractor got up there that he found it. It's difficult to find people who work on historic structures, and they're not cheap. And so these tax credits really will incent people to do this work that they may not do otherwise. These are important structures to Hagerstown and Washington County, and I think it's important that you all in Senate, so I would be very much in support of increasing the credit, even though I won't benefit from it. I may benefit in the future. I didn't know these credits existed, and up until this time, had spent somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 that most of it would have qualified. So it's key to get the word out. So anyway, thank you very much. I want to thank the volunteers that serve on the commissions that approve these processes, and I encourage you to approve the increase. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, we're still in the public comment period. Anyone else would like? Andrew?
Andrew Ashelwin, although I'm actually wearing a different hat this morning. This is me as a Washington County citizen and not my employed position. I live at 19826 Blue Heron Lane. I support the approach to apply an incentive-based program to historic preservation rather than a punitive one that protects private property rights. As someone that owns a property dating back to 1737 and one of the 103 Washington County properties listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, our family takes pride in being a steward of Washington County history. Owning a historic property comes with many challenges, and you heard some of that, like always needing to fix something, but it can also be rewarding when things come together and are done right. Historic properties are living testimonies to the perseverance of early settlers and community leaders who established Washington County and helped create our unique cultural identity. I think people see the importance of preserving our architectural heritage in the same way we value preserving open space and view sheds of our natural landscapes that once lost or never replaced. In terms of the existing tax credit program, despite undertaking a lot of work at our property, I too have not used the existing program and found the benefit to not be worth the administrative effort and time lost. In my opinion, the key to a successful incentive program is addressing the minor maintenance items before they manifest into a much larger project. When something breaks, you fix it immediately. Owning and maintaining a historic home is more work, and keeping properties in good condition rather than letting them crumble and applying incentives to complete a major renovation is not as sensible. I do believe expanding the tax credit percentage for restoration projects and the eligible pool of properties will encourage more to see the value in participating in historic preservation. An often overlooked point is that while there may be these incentives, it still may not result in making preserving historic homes cheaper. A major cost factor in home insurance is the replacement value, which is different than the appraised value. Historic homes and the insurance premiums are often many times higher than modern homes because the replacement value is based upon repairing or replacing the home using period materials, not conventional. So that is a necessary expectation of these programs to ensure compliance, but also a financial reality for the owner. So in summary, I support the revisions to the ordinance in the hope that it will encourage others to see the value in historic preservation and support future efforts to help defray the annual ownership costs so people can continue to care and maintain for their properties in the architectural style they were built, and also so they don't fall into disrepair and become blighted properties too expensive to care for. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay. Other public comments?
Good morning. My name is Ann Aldrich. I live at 13302 Unger Road. I serve on the Historic District Commission and on Washington County Historical Trust, and I am a homeowner of an 1803 stone house, which brought us to Washington County. It's the historic resources in this county that are just a tremendous asset to the county and to our visitors and to our economy. And I just really would like to urge the commissioners to show your support for historic preservation by passing this update. I think it really will help us spread the word on why historic preservation is important to the county. And I've got to echo the previous speaker on all the costs associated with maintaining an historic home and why at the current 10%, it really isn't worth filing for that tax credit. But 25%, I think I'd think twice. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Still open for public comment? Anyone? Hearing none, I'll revert back to the commissioners. Thoughts or comments? Questions?
You know, I don't have any questions. I think it's a good thing. I'm in.
I'm in too, but just a question procedurally. So if you spend $100,000 on renovations that are aligned with the requirements and you've submitted that, would that give you $25,000 of tax credit? And if your property tax was, say, $4,000, would that be 1 year, or does that go on for how many years?
5 years. You have up to 5 years to expend the credit. After that, whatever's remaining would just dissolve. We would not carry it forward past
Okay,
that.
but expending the credit is limited to, it's tied to your property tax, right?
Yes.
So there's a chance that you wouldn't expend the whole credit.
There is always that chance,
Yeah.
yes.
Significant chance depending upon the property.
And the cost of the original project, as you mentioned, yes.
And then the second question is, I understand like Ringgold and these places are already surveyed. And so those homes in there, whether they're on a registry specifically or not, they're qualified. If they're an older home, like built in 1860 or 1880, regardless of whether they had the procedures done like in the historic registry?
So the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties contains those surveys that the board has previously adopted through those comprehensive plan efforts. Those have a period of significance that is associated with the rural village. So typically there are contributing and non-contributing structures that are listed individually in that documentation. And that's what would be used. If they were a contributing structure, they would be eligible for the credit, having had that survey completed, so that we know they are contributing to that rural village's historic character.
So a lot of homes, I imagine, in the county, last question, a lot of homes, I live in one that was stone house, 1818 built. Our neighbors are all same time period, stone houses. So, but we're not in a village area, so we would have to do the historic registry?
You would do the historic preservation overlay process, that rezoning process, in order to qualify for this particular program.
And we have a lot of homes that are not even on that list, right?
Correct, because as I mentioned, there are about less than 20 individual properties that are listed on that HB overlay. So one of the hopes is that this increase in percentage will also increase participation in that overlay. And again, our office does that at minimal expense to the property owner, and we assist through the whole process. It is a rezoning process, but you're not charged for it. Our office goes through the paperwork with you and tries to help with that.
It would be very worthwhile for something as simple as an old stone house. You got 2 chimneys that need to be totally repaired, tucked and all that. And that can run up to, I don't know, Randy, what's that run up to, $15,000 or something?
Keep going, buddy.
It's more than that, okay. And so then if it's 25%, it would be, $5,000 or $10,000 just on that you could recoup. And that would be recoupable easily, probably in that 5-year time period.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be a major restoration of a gut job on a house, so. Okay, good. I'm for it.
I have a couple questions and a comment. I support the tax credit as well. I think we hear a lot from our constituents and our citizens how development is changing our community and many times not for the better. And this is a way that we can preserve the history and the heritage that we have here in Washington County. And I think we're known for our stone houses here in Washington County on the East Coast. First question I have is, could you kind of give an example of a project that might be covered and how that homeowner from start to finish, like the timeline or the schedule that they would need to follow to apply for the credit when the work begins? Just very quickly, like, what's the process of applying for the credit at the right time?
So we report the credits to, the HDC has to review the credit once the project is completed, and that has to be turned in by May. So anytime after that May start point, if someone were to come into our office, they would be applying for the following year's credit. And typically, with Mr. Williamson, for example, he applied for the credit and had his estimates in place and what his project scope would be. However, because he needed qualified professional to complete that, it took longer than he anticipated. But we will retain that application for as long as that project would take, and then it would be reviewed at whatever May meeting is applicable to that application. So it really depends on the scope of the project as to how long it would take. It could take just that 6 months if they've already got a quick project, or it could take up to a year or more, depending on what the scope of the full project would be.
So use an example like Commissioner Harvey gave, a stone chimney needs replaced, and that's a structural part of a stone home, I'm sure. At what point will the county be contacted to get the process started?
Right.
After the work is done, is that what you're saying?
They should contact us initially so that we can make sure that they're in the qualifying areas. And once we have determined that they are, they would provide a scope of the work that they're planning to do. And then that's where the documentation that he was indicating comes in. So we do need some before pictures, during the process pictures, and then some after pictures, which we can go out and take as staff. It would not be reviewed until the project was completed by the HDC. They would review that final cost that was incurred for the project.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned about our municipalities, and I know we have a lot of potential inventory in our municipalities. That what action do our towns need to take in order to deem communities, neighborhoods, homes, properties qualified for a credit like this? What do they need to do?
So they would need to have something in place where they have protection of historic resources. So some of the towns already have a similar overlay to what we have here at the county. And then they have to have some type of design review. And that's where the towns tend to fall a little bit behind, is they don't have the qualified professionals and the same type of people that we have on our HDC to be able to review. So they would enter into an MOU with us for the HDC to be that reviewing body for them. But other than that, we have expanded it, so you don't have to have, the town does not have to have a National Register district. It does have to have a contributing Maryland inventory property number in there. And then those mechanisms in place, like the historic preservation overlay, either through zoning or some type of review authority that they can give to the HDC.
Okay. So hopefully maybe your team can get with our municipalities, maybe through an MML meeting, or
We've actually already been contacted
Yeah,
by several.
and I did send them, any municipality that had reached out to us previously was sent this ordinance ahead of time so that they could take a look at it and provide any comments or concerns they might have had.
And I know when I was a member of the Historic Advisory Committee, they worked for many months, probably many years, on a historic tax credit brochure. And hopefully that can be updated, and we can put forward a huge effort to get the information out there. I think that's why, the low tax credit may have been, the hurdles were too high to really reap any kind of financial benefit. But, part of the equation is just, do homeowners even know the credit exists? So if we could work hard to get that out and update that tax credit brochure, I think that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Anything else?
Motion to approve.
Well, let me,
Close the hearing.
I need to, you're jumping ahead of me there, Mr. Wagner. At this point, I'd like to close the public hearing, and now we'll bring it back to the
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
I may be benefiting from this directly
I wrote
down
that
the road,
down.
so.
That's my next comment.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, next up is FY 2025 General Fund and Capital Budget Discussion. Morning, Kelsey.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kelsey Mace, Chief Financial Officer. The proposed FY25 general fund budget remains balanced at $300,648,730. Revenues have not changed since the last draft that was presented on March 26th. So at this time, I just want to take a moment to ask the commissioners for a consensus to seek approval from the state to set the semi-annual service fee rate at 0%. The state of Maryland requires jurisdictions to provide for a semi-annual tax payment, allowing property owners to pay real estate property taxes in 2 installments rather than 1 installment. The legislation also allows taxing jurisdictions to impose a semi-annual service fee to help counties absorb the administrative fees and lost interest income as a result of the deferred payment. The fee is calculated on current interest rates. So this rate has been set at 0% for the last 3 fiscal years, and the proposed budget does not include charging a semi-annual service fee. So I'm just seeking consensus to keep that at 0% for the FY25.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You want that as a motion or consensus?
I just need a consensus so we can file the paperwork with the state.
I'm okay.
I'm good.
5-0.
The expense budget for the general fund was updated to reflect changes to individual department budgets based on the salary scale adjustment. Previously, the entire budget set aside for the salary scale adjustment was in the general ops department budget. So the only changes in this draft is just taking it out of general ops and distributing it amongst the different departments. The FY25 capital budget has not changed since the last draft that was presented on April 9th. The total budget for FY25 is $65,785,000, and the 10-year plan total is $624,859,000. And finally, the proposed budget for all operating funds is $368.3 million, and operating and capital combined is $434.1 million for FY25. So at this time, I would like to open it up to commissioners for any questions or comments.
Questions, comments?
And if there aren't any, I would like to ask for consensus to take the budget as proposed today to public hearing.
I'm good with that.
Okay with me.
Consensus?
To bring to the public hearing, yes, I'm okay.
Okay, so then as a final reminder that there will be a public hearings held on May 7th at 9:30 a.m. for the rate changes to the water quality and airport fee schedules, and that our public budget hearing will be Wednesday, May 15th at 6 p.m. at the Public Safety Training Center.
Can I just ask Derek, were you a yes or a no on that?
All consensus? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, if there's nothing else, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Next item is rejection of request for quotation, Q24-771, printing of envelopes for various county departments. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Aaron Wiesner, Procurement Specialist 1. I recommend the action to move to take action in the best interest of the county and to request the quotes for printing of envelopes for various county departments to be rejected due to the quote specifications need to be revised, and request approval to re-advertise and extend the current contract for 30 days. The RFP was listed on the State of Maryland, eMaryland Marketplace Advantage website and on the county's website. 47 companies registered and downloaded the quotation document online, and 4 quotes were received for this service.
So basically, you want us to reject that, right?
Yeah, yeah, just the.
Yeah, motion to reject it.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second. Ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 5-0. Okay, thank you. Next item is rejection of request for proposal, PUR 1660, Event Planning Consultant Agency.
Again, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing. So before you, rejection of request proposal PUR 1660, Event Planning Consultant Agency. Move to take action in the best interest of the county and to request proposal for the Event Planning Consultant Agency be rejected due to the proposal did not provide the requested information and request approval to re-advertise. As you can see in the proposal was advertised as normally due, the number of individuals who downloaded it, and we only received one proposal. Are there any questions?
Motion to reject.
I'll second the motion just for a question. What did we need an event planner for?
This is for the 250 commemorative anniversary.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
So we're rejecting this? Are we still looking for an event planner?
We're going to revise the document, and we're going to re-advertise.
Okay. Is it possible that I can see what that event planning document or item is?
I can give you a copy of the document if you'd like to see it.
I'd like to see a copy as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Send that to all of us, please.
Sure can.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for rejection. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're going to wait for a vote, yep.
Okay, ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
The copy I'm going to provide you will be the revised copy, not the original.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Rick. Next item is FY25 Appalachian Regional Commission, ARC Preliminary Project Description Review and Ranking.
Good morning, Rachel Souders, Director of Grant Management. As part of the annual ARC funding program, Tri-County Council for Western Maryland, who is the local administrator of these federal funds, requests the county review and prioritize projects submitted for grant funding consideration. A review committee consisting of directors from the offices of Planning and Zoning, Business and Economic Development, Engineering and Grant Management has reviewed the projects and assigned a preliminary ranking. The Board of County Commissioners has the final authority to review and rank the proposals at its sole discretion prior to submission to Tri-County Council. In February, ARC's preliminary project description forms were distributed to municipalities, educational institutions, healthcare providers, and nonprofit agencies, inviting them to submit requests for funding through ARC. ARC area development grants require a 50-50 funding match. In FY25, the ARC expects to have approximately $4.4 million to be distributed among Allegheny, Garrett, and Washington counties. Funding requests for Washington County's area development projects include 5 proposed projects requesting $1,158,103. Projects submitted from outside organizations will have no fiscal impact on the county, but if the project submitted by the Hagerstown Regional Airport receives an award from ARC, the county's cost to complete the project will be reduced by the award amount.
In your packet today, I did provide you with handouts. The original packet, just so that the public is aware, had a little bit of a typo on line number 2 in the ranking for the Washington County Museum of Fine Arts. The grand total was $3,318,000, and then the grand total at the bottom should be $4,416,726.
How many projects were applied total? You have 5.
Just the 5.
Just the 5, there was no 6, 7, or 8?
Nope.
And so this is just
I'll review this at the Tri-County Council Executive.
this is just a ranking for us to approve?
Yes, so the Board of County Commissioners reviews and ranks, and they submit their suggested ranking to Tri-County Council, and then they review the rankings from Allegheny,
Goes to the
Washington.
Executive Board and review.
Okay. Now, this is for that expansion, the museum one is for the expansion that they're planning, the school part of it, and
Yes, so the ARC funding they requested is only for the schematic design and design development portions of that.
I'm good with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Is this consensus?
No,
We need a motion.
Okay, I motion to approve.
Motion to support the ranking.
Okay, motion?
Motion to support the ranking?
Jackie,
You got it, all in favor?
Yes, well, you ready? I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was just figuring out who was the second and first, but it don't
Okay.
matter.
Well, Jeff, you want a second, being as you sit on the Tri-County
My colleague,
Council?
Commissioner Harvey, made the motion first, and I'll gladly second
Okay,
it.
but I didn't know if, sitting on the Tri-County Council.
No,
if You're okay?
I've done this before.
And I'd gladly say aye.
Okay, all in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just making sure it wasn't a conflict.
Oh, there's no conflict. I'll strongly advocate for our projects.
Okay, very good. Next item is FY25 Adult Day Reporting Center Grant Approval to submit application and accept funding as awarded.
Good morning, Nicole Phillips, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Good morning, Megan Willis, Director of Day Reporting Center.
We are here today because the Washington County Sheriff's Office Day Reporting Center is requesting approval to submit a grant application to the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services and accept up to $270,000 in awarded funding. The Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services has made funding available exclusively to day reporting centers in Maryland to support operations, improvements, and programming aimed at reducing recidivism among offenders. The Day Reporting Center is requesting funds to provide diverse support services such as family counseling, behavioral health treatments, financial coaching, drug testing, and job preparation. Funding will also include assistance with housing, transportation, and general participant needs.
Okay, any questions, concerns? Motions? Everybody's gotten quiet on me. I'm fine.
Second.
Yeah, motion to, yeah.
Motion and second. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, ladies. Every now and then I have to nudge them. Next up, Wright Rural Legacy Program, RLP easement.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Boggs, Rural Preservation Administrator, Department of Planning and Zoning. I bring to you this morning the Samuel P. and Dana Moylan Wright Rural Legacy Easement Project. This one is located on Dellinger Road in Williamsport, and it will serve to preserve a valuable agricultural, scenic, and environmental property in the county. Property is mostly agricultural and woodland areas, and it, of course, lies in the rural legacy area, which in a part that was, heavily trafficked during the Civil War and Battle of Antietam. The easement property consists of two parcels. They are right next to a historic property called the Wilden House, which the Wrights also own. It's just it couldn't be part of the easement because it's a residential parcel, and we can only include ag-assessed parcels in our conservation easements. Additionally, the parcel adds on to a block of over 100 acres of contiguous preserved farmland near the battlefield in Williamsport. 11 development rights will be extinguished with the easement. As you know, the county has been involved with rural legacy since 1998, preserving over 8,700 acres of land in the rural legacy area, which expands out from the Antietam battlefield. We received a $3.127 million grant for fiscal year '24, and this is part of that grant. The funding for rural legacy is 100% state dollars, mainly from DNR's open space funding. And we receive 3% of the easement value for administrative costs and 1.5% for compliance and monitoring costs for each of these easements. The recommended motion would be to approve the Samuel P. and Dana Moylan Wright Rural Legacy Easement Project in the amount of $184,459.60 over 49.542 easement acres, all paid for 100% by the state, and adopt the ordinance approving the easement purchase. Any questions?
Yeah, the radio today was hyping your 40,000 acres that we've preserved. Yeah, it was on the radio, so that's pretty nice. Yeah, I motion to approve.
And counting.
Okay, we have a motion. You have a second for approval? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Which station was that?
JJ. Yeah, Lou Scally.
I can pick it up.
Lou Scally, yeah, he was talking about it this morning.
Okay. Next up, Leslie Hart, Agricultural, USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service Update.
Morning. Happy Tuesday.
Good stuff.
Leslie Hart, Washington County Department of Business and Economic Development. It's my pleasure to be here. Every 5 years, our census, our national census rolls out data that talks about specifically about Washington County. And I have just nothing but good stuff to share with you today. We had about an 8.5% increase in our value of market products sold, $167,907,000, so $167 million in agricultural products sold. That was up from $153 million several years ago. It just is a testament to what Washington County farmers and the agricultural community is doing. They're innovative, they're forward-thinking, they really take preserving the earth and keeping our community in farming and agriculture. Thank you for preserving the previous farm with Chris Boggs. That just all is a testament to how dedicated our agricultural community is. We did have a decrease in the number of farms from 877 to 869. That's an eight farms we lost. Honestly, the census is a generalization, and it really is a lot of averages. I don't know the truth in that number, but I know that I've had more farms come on board that are smaller farms, under 10 acres. So I'm seeing maybe some farms getting split up and maybe they didn't get captured by the census. So I don't really hold that number in too much high esteem. But the really cool stuff about Washington County is that we are still the largest producer in the state of Maryland of fruit, nut trees, and berries. That's a testament to our orchards in the Smithsburg, Hancock, and Hagerstown area. We still have the largest inventory of beef cattle. We still are #1 in dairy cows, and we also have the largest number of dairy farms in the state of Maryland. We also are the largest producer of sheep, goats, wool, mohair, and milk products for the state. And this is the one thing that I do want to share with you is I still have about 20+% of my farms do not have internet access. And I think that's an important thing. If they're rural communities, they're so far out, it doesn't make sense for us to run internet or cabling or anything to remote farms, but that's still a pretty big number. And our agricultural community, with the innovation that they're setting forward, that really does set them up to have to succeed in other ways. They have to find technology and resources. And a lot of times I see it with my older farmers. I see the technology coming through their grandchildren. So I interact with the grandkids on their phones versus the grandparents. So, I have ways to get hold of my farmers. But I just wanted to share those results with you. We're in the process of putting together a nice infographic to go out. It'll be posted on the website. More information will follow on that. Yes, sir.
Leslie, under acres of farming, should that say 2003 increase and not decrease?
Yes, it should.
Okay, not to be critical, but I just I want the folks out there to realize a lot of times the commissioners get challenged as farming's not an emphasis of ours when it actually is increasing.
It is. And thank you for that. Thank you for that note, John.
Okay.
So,
Yep. And I guess I'm just going to give a shameless plug that no farms were lost in any of the development of our warehouses, et cetera. So no farms were lost.
so let me ask you this then, Leslie.
Yes, sir.
For context, since 2017, we've lost 33 dairy farms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We got some beef producing farms have gone up a little bit, but are some of those more hobby farms and large?
Specific to dairy?
No, the second question is beef producing farms, 4-farm increase. A farm is 5 or more acres.
Yeah, most of my beef, I do have I'm looking for the right words.
Yeah.
Many farms in Washington County, the smaller ones especially, they're dual income farms. In other words, the owner of the property works off the farm, and then the farm is a hobby type thing or not necessarily a full-time. I'm seeing an increase in beef cattle on the smaller acreage, but still my larger producers of beef cattle are running larger size herds. And I have several that are doing substantially over 100 beef cattle.
And pork producing farms, that's not just solely pork producing. We don't have large pork producers here, do we? Like we have in North Carolina and places.
We don't, but we still are one of the larger ones in the state because of the number of animals. You know, hogs, you don't recognize that a lot, it's not like the animal lives on the farm for years and years. There is a cyclical period to the production cycle for animals and feeding our consumers. So there's constantly growth and rebirth on farms all the time.
And the only reason I ask these questions is we're sort of holding steady overall. We're the largest in a lot of these areas, but we're fighting to hold steady. And we've had a decrease since 2017 in some things that are very important, like the dairy.
We are. The biggest challenge with the dairy industry is that dairy farms must diversify. They have to have multiple revenue streams, not just dairy. So they have to do breeding programs, they have to raise their own crops, and then they can sell the crops. But multiple income streams is what makes farms successful. They can't just do one thing. The dairy farms in our community, still about 70% of those are Mennonite-based, and the dairy industry is so heavily regulated because it is a substantial food source supply to consumers. The amount of costs on the back end are just astronomical. That, it used to be you could really make a lot of money with dairy, and you just can't anymore because your expenses are so high. Just managing the herd health is a huge expense.
Labor is very expensive, but robotics is changing that in some of our farms in the county.
It is. And, but the robots, they don't come with a very small price tag. To put in a robot that milks 75 cows is running between $350,000 and $500,000 to install for 75 cows. That is a tough decision for a farmer to make, to invest in that on dairy cows. But those that do have the robotic milkers, love them. They're seeing an increase in production. The cows have the choice to be milked, and some are getting milked more frequently than twice a day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. That's a cow's decision. So, herd health, herd happiness really goes a long way to having good milk producers.
Leslie, I have a couple questions,
Yes,
if I can ask. I believe in this time frame, and I'm thinking and referring to some of the former apple orchards in Hancock, probably measured in the thousands of acres that were producing at one time and had been vacant for decades. And then in this time frame between 2017 and 2022, there's been some activity with clearing some of the old orchards, and now there's cattle. I don't know what they're used for, but cattle of some kind.
Yes.
Was that taken off the inventory of farming land and then put when the orchards were no longer producing and they were overgrown, and now that there's large acreages in Hancock that's being used again for agriculture, was that put back on the list? How is that factored into your calculation? So
the orchards in the Hancock area predate my career. So 20 years ago, they were taken off the inventory when a lot of that, they didn't maintain the fruit trees, and then they started taking them out. So when the census goes out and talks to farmers and sends the information asking them to reply, that's the opportunity for the farmer's voice to be heard. So that's where we're starting to see some of that increase in beef cattle, especially in that area. Because, just because you pull the trees, we still have a lot of rocks, and it doesn't necessarily lend itself to good crop farming. So beef cattle, any type of animal that you can run on fields that have rocks is just ideal. But yeah, that's how that census data is updated, and we are seing that increase in beef.
Is there a way you can get me, later on, like a specific number as it relates to those orchards I'm talking about in Hancock?
Yes.
That would be real fascinating to me.
Yep.
And then my other question, you said something, if you could clarify or say it again, you said no farms were taken for warehouses? Say that, explain that. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm thinking of the warehouse on the Dickinson property where there's a warehouse now. That was agricultural fields and
It was,
corn.
but it wasn't, but it was zoned differently. So it was already taken out of agricultural zoning several years, many years before that was ever done.
So even though it may have still been used for agricultural purposes, so isn't that a little misleading? I mean, it may be zoned differently, but what it's used for, it's used for agricultural. And then, so to ignore that, I don't think makes sense.
Okay, I certainly appreciate that. I have to consider the fact that we have 70 and 81 that run right through our county. And the zoning for those two corridors lends itself to a lot of development opportunities for warehouses and things like that. Of course, we talked about convenience stores and truck stops and all those kinds of things. When zoning changes for a parcel, that means that the forethought is to move that into something that makes more sense for long-term benefits for the community from a zoning perspective. The Dickinson farm had been out of agricultural zoning for many years prior to the development. Yes, it was being leased to farmers for crops. That's the only thing that was occurring on that farm. So I certainly understand exactly what you're saying, and let me see if I can work on my talk off for that a little bit.
I think we need to be careful about that message, because the person who eats that corn cob at the end of the day, they don't care how that land was zoned that corn was grown on.
Right.
And I think we go back down that path that we talked about a couple months ago, where county funding isn't being used to attract warehouses, and yet we give grants to attract workers to fill those warehouses. And that, that's part of the incentive package of drawing that type of industry to our community. And I think we need to be careful about this. And if the Herald Mail picks up on this and turns it into an article in any way, I just hope they clarify that, yes, there is land being used for agricultural purposes, regardless of how it's zoned, it's being consumed by warehouses.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Herald Mail is here today, so we'll make sure I address that with her personally before I
It may not
finish.
make it to the newspaper, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? All right. The last thing that I have is I only have one today, Faces of Farming. The promotion continues, outreach. I look for a new educational element to roll out in the next quarter associated with Faces of Farming. There'll be an educational element at the end specific. I also hope to see more Faces of Farming showcase during Ag Expo and Fair. Well, there's a lot of downtime and people can just hang out, so watch for videos to happen during Ag Expo when you visit this year. And let me just give a shameless plug for Ag Expo. While I'm thinking about it, it is July 13th to the 20th this year, so please mark that on your calendars. But today's Faces of Farming focuses on tourism. Agritourism is probably one of our biggest growing agricultural industries. It ties directly to our local consumers, and people love to get on farms. Today's Faces of Farming is Antietam Pumpkins. It's located in the Sharpsburg area. This young couple started the process many years ago with a very small concept. They have since purchased a much larger farm. They have expanded, and it is a seasonal agritourism, which means it only happens in the fall timeframe. But it's a great thing, and the number of Washington County youth that actually set foot on that farm is huge. So if I could ask our Public Relations Department to roll that Faces of Farming for Antietam Pumpkins.
I'm Jessica Lance, and we are at Antietam Pumpkins, located in Sharpsburg, Maryland. We have about 200 acres, but we plant about 12 of them in pumpkins.
We lease some of the ground to farmers, and they do corn, soybeans. They manage all the other fields, and we manage the pumpkin part of it.
We plant over 30 varieties of pumpkins, and then we open up to the public every fall and do hay rides. We have our corn maze. We have a little market area where we try to have like local different products, like local honey, and then we just have family activities. We try to have like some simple things for the kids and families to come and relax and enjoy their weekends here through the fall. We do food trucks, and we usually have live music.
We started the pumpkins, I guess it was about 6 years ago or so. We started with a small little garden-sized patch in our backyard, just testing it out, and then we grew the next year to a half acre, and then we grew and started renting fields from my wife's father, and we did about 1.5 acres. that year, and then we grew to about 4 acres over there, and then about 10 acres, and then we ran out of space to rotate the crops enough, so we moved over here about a year and a half ago. This year, we've got about 12 acres of pumpkins again and about a 6-acre corn maze for the kids this year.
We just love creating a space where people can come and actually pick a pumpkin off the vine and go out into the field and see where they come from, and then providing a space for families to just spend lazy Saturday afternoons listening to music and letting the kids play. That's kind of our goal. And starting out and not having any equipment, not having much knowledge around the space, we really saw the whole agricultural community support us and help us, and everyone is so kind and so willing to give advice or lend equipment.
I think people have a kind of a disconnect these days with where their food comes from and the value and the importance of farmers. I think people getting back out here in nature and getting back on a farm can kind of reconnect them with the entire process of it. It's nice to see that families are enjoying it together and getting outside here and enjoying the patch.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Okay, motion to go in closed
Gonna go
session.
in closed session.
All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
5-minute recess before we